Good day, everyone. My report is all about the global economy. Global economy is also known as the world economy. When we say global economy, there is international goods and services. There is free movement of goods, capital, services, technology, and information. Global economy is concerned with globalization of production, finance, markets, technology, organizational regimes, institutions, corporations, and labor. So when people say we live in a global economy, they are talking about the interdependence of nation. So when we say interdependence, there is connection or relation. So for example is banking and finance, which should they has no local boundaries. So if a giant bank in one country collapses, banks in other countries also suffer. So when we talk about global economy in this context, we are referring to globalization. It is expanding since the emergence of transnational trade and increased exponentially due to the increased rate of communication and technology. So global economy is there is the advent of the internet. The global economy has become relevant for many businesses than before. In the past, only large corporations should call themselves multinationals. The creation of World Trade Organizations made countries cut down trade barriers and open cut their current accounts and capital accounts. So when we say trade barriers, it is the something that prevents a foreign products from freely entering to a certain country. Basically speaking, there are restrictions on international trade based on government. So next is market integration. Prices among different location or related goods follow the same pattern over a long period of time. Then market integration exists when a group of prices often move proportionally to each other, and when this is relation is very clear among different markets, then market is integrated. So an example of market integration is the Coca-Cola company. So there are the brief story of the Coca-Cola company. This company started in 1886 and they maintained the same price for a very long period of time, delivering to the militaries to the United States until it reaches over 200 countries in the world. This company tried to market beverages at very low price in order for them to expand their businesses in other countries. They also make sure that their price is marketable to the same foreign countries because different countries have different culture and they also have different buying culture. That is why they need to have a good strategy in order to move and sell their goods or products from one country to another. That is the example of market integration. Next is the market integration is an indicator how much different markets are related to each other. So enters global economy, more and more businesses are selling beyond their borders. That is why if you're a businessman and you want to promote the goods and services, there is a need for you to have an effective global marketing strategy. Next is the two types of economies associated with economic globalization. First is the protectionism, means a policy of systematic government intervention in foreign trade with the objective of encouraging domestic production. Trade protectionism usually comes in the form of quotas and tariffs. So, an example is a pen that costs $1 in country A and in country B, it would be given $5 tariff, then pen would become $6 in country B. This policy was practiced during the mercantilist era from 16th to 17th century, the early years of the Industrial Revolution. The Great Depression of 1929 marked and peaked to protectionism. Until today, protectionism exists in the world economy despite the growth of trade liberalization. Countries such as China Japan and the United States are being accused of practicing protectionism. Second is trade liberalization or free trade. Free trade agreements and technological advances in transportation and communication mean goods services move around the world more easily than ever. There are also fair trade, also defined by the International Fair Trade Association, is the concern for the social, economic, and environmental well-being of marginalized small producers, and also it aims for a more moral and equitable global economic system. Specifically, it is concerned with protection of workers and producers, establishment of more just prices, engagement in environmentally sound practices and sustainable production, creation of relationships between producers in the south of consumers in the north, promotion of safe working environment, products like coffee, bananas, cotton, wine, tea, and chocolate have been exchanged in light of fair trade. Integration of economies, they are also made possible by technology, communication networks, internet access, growth of economic cooperation trading blocks, collapse of communism, movement to free trade. And there are also the benefits of trade. First in is increased choice, greater potential for growth, increased international economies of scale, greater employment opportunities. So there are also the disadvantages of trade. First is increase in a gap between the rich and the poor, dominance of global trade by the rich northern hemisphere countries, lack of opportunities for the poor to be able to have access to markets, exploitation of workers and growers. There are also the corporate expansion, multinational or transnational corporations, businesses with a headquarters in one country but with businesses operation in a number of others. There are also the characteristics which is expanding revenue, lowering costs, sourcing raw materials, controlling key supplies, control the processing, global economies of scale. There are also the early capitalist ideas. First is market economy. Market is free from state control. Second is division of labor. Third is competition. Economies are increasingly linked together. So there are NAFTA, which is the North American Free Trade Agreement, the EU, which is European Union, the WTO is World Trade Organization, only global international organization dealing with the rules of trade between nations. The goal is to help producers of goods and services, exporters and importers product their businesses. There are also the different companies which is the Nike, Walmart, Royal or Dutch Shell. There are also top 100 multinationals are all US owned companies. Royal Dutch Shell, global group of energy and petrochemical companies operating in more than 140 countries and territories, employing more than 112,000 people. So the key issues is damage to the environment, exploitation of labor, monopoly power, economic degradation, non-renewable resources, and also damage to culture. And there are also the other issues, which is sustainability of global businesses, increased gap between rich and poor fuels potential terrorist reaction. Third is ethical responsibility of business. Fourth is effort to remove trade barriers. So thank you for listening. And by the way, I am Jenny Ann Abastas, and this is the end of my report.